You could accept the fact that the city is headed for a biblical. What he means is Old Testament, yeah, Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes. The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria.
In the early 1960s, the promise of wonderment and the space race captivated Americans. Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, creators of the Flintstones, were equally inspired as well. If a modern Stone Age family could make it big, why not a futuristic one? On September 23rd, 1962, 7 months after astronaut John Glenn made his historical Earth orbit, the Jetsons blasted off on the ABC television network. Composed by Hyatt Curtin, the musical director for the Hanna-Barbera Animation Studio, the catchy theme song introduced viewers to the space-age family. Meet George Jetson, his boy Elroy, daughter Judy, Jane, his wife. As the music played, the viewers got a peek into the ultra-modern lifestyle, complete with flying cars, jetpacks, moving sidewalks, and robot maids. But the series was not just futuristic in the world of the show. The Jetsons was ABC's first series to broadcast in color. I'm going to say that again. The Jetsons was ABC's first series to broadcast in color. Also, just as the Flintstones was modeled after the Honeymooners, another pop culture 1950s TV sitcoms, Blondie was the prototype for the Jetsons, so much so that Penny Singleton, who played Blondie, provided the voice of wife and homemaker Jane Jetson. Other similarities to the Flintstones abound. Just like Fred, George suffered from an overbearing boss, voiced by Mel Blanc. Cosmo G. Spacely was the greedy, egomaniacal president and owner of Spacey Space Sprockets. Though George worked just 1 hour a day, we're going to come back to that 40-hour work week. Just remember that. So although George just worked 1 hour a day, 2 days a week, he regularly received Spacely's wrath. Jetson! Spacely would yell into the video phone, threatening to fire George for the slightest offense. A couple of years prior to the Jetsons' debut, Hanna-Barbera had learned the importance of grounding a period cartoon from their successes with the Flintstones, which was broadcast in black and white, not color. Remember now, Jetsons was the first cartoon that was broadcast in color. Even so, the creators gave the Jetsons writers and designers free rein to create their high-tech setting. Animator Jerry Eisenberg noted, "We weren't bound by any particular rules. I remember we were developing the series. Designer Tony Benedict brought in a book one day. The title of the book was 1975, The Changes to Come. 13 years in the future, it was an interesting book because it showed predictions of what there would be in terms of space travel, space apartments, homes. This is what it would be like in 1965. New ideas, new appliances, whatever you would think of. Heralding visions for tomorrow, the show's designers created cutting-edge locals, transportation modes, and gizmos. They constructed Orbit City, in which homes and businesses perched high above the ground on adjustable columns. George Jetson commuted to work on an aero car that resembled a flying saucer with a transparent bubble top that converted to a briefcase upon his arrival at work. Daily life was assisted by numerous electronic labor-saving devices, including food replicators, flying pods, watches with video conferencing capabilities, everything that you see in 2023. Yet, despite the futuristic setting, the writers grounded their stories on basic family themes. One popular episode involved teenage Judy Jetson and her crush on the unique pop idol of 2062, Jet Screamer, where she enters a songwriting contest for the chance to win a date with the space-age heartthrob. Like many fathers and daughters of the 1960s, George is dubious of rock and roll and hoped to foil Judy's chances. He replaced the original song with her younger brother Elroy's secret code, Ep Op Ork Ah Ah. But the crazy lyrics actually became the winning entry. So George tags along to try to stop the date. Actor George O'Hanlon, who auditioned for the original part of Fred Flintstone, voiced the space-age patriarch of the Jetson clan, who was just born last year, by the way. Did you know that? Yeah, so George Jetson was born last year. I don't have the date here in front of me, but he was. So anyway, so George Jetson is the very average man, said O'Hanlon. He is terrible with his boss. He has trouble with his boss. He has problems with his kids, and so on. The only difference is that he lives in the next century. And who can forget George's wife, Jane? Her shrewd character was perfectly encapsulated in the introductory scene, where George offers her a few bills, and she takes his entire wallet instead. A member of the Galaxy Women Historical Society, Jane was also a fan of Leonardo da Vinci and shopped at Mooningdale's. Oh my gosh. Similar to their parents, the Jetson children behaved much like the kids from the 1960s, even if they were blessed with the latest technologies. Judy, the 16-year-old daughter, attended Orbit High School and engaged in timeless teenage activities like gossiping on the telephone and shopping with friends. However, the animators invented many cool gadgets for her, such as controllable zero-gravity switches that allowed for dancing in midair, and floating robotic diary named Dee Dee, voiced by the sultry actress Berinda Vercaro. Elroy, her 6.5-year-old brother, went to Little Dipper School and happened to be exceptionally smart in all space sciences. The Jetsons also had pets, including a beloved dim-witted Great Dane, Astro. As a sign of how household pets may one day evolve, Astro possessed fundamental grasp of the English language, derived from the sound of a barking dog's ruff ruff. Dong Messick, who voiced Astro, had the idea to replace the first letter of any word with an R. I love you. George became I love you. I love you, George. So that's what. No, I mean, I don't think that was a good impression. I'm just sitting there. I'm just reading the. I'm just reading the thing. Right. Yeah. I love you, George. Anyways, one of the most memorable gags involved George giving Astro a walk on a gravity-suspended treadmill. A cat suddenly stumbles in front of Astro, and the dog takes off after it. The treadmill's speed becomes too fast for George. He gets caught in it. His plea for his wife's health becomes a familiar catchphrase from the show, Jane, stop this crazy thing! Another popular member of the Jetsons household was their humanoid robotic maid, Rosie. Rosie. Wouldn't you like to have a Rosie? I mean, I would like to have a Rosie. I'm still waiting for the first model to come out, possibly sometime next year. Oh, yes, well, it'll definitely be controlled by AI. And sentient, yes. Now, if it starts asking me about, if it starts asking me about, my love life, then we're going to have a problem. What? I can love a robot too. Robots have rights too, Actress Jean Vader Ply, who also voiced Fred Flintstone's long-suffering wife, Wilma, supplied Rosie's vocals. In the first episode of the series, Rosie the Robot, we discovered Rosie was an older model. Yet the whole family came to love her, and Rosie's boyfriend, Rosie, fell for Mac, the robot assistant of Henry Orbitz, the apartment supervisor of Skypad Apartments, where the Jetsons lived. Rosie had it going on. I mean, Rosie knew what was happening. She was like, "Row, bow, chicka, bow, wow, robot." Although Rosie was fond of Mac, Rosie was clearly the more intelligent robot and often scolded him for his childish behaviors. Just like a woman robot, I mean. Right. Anyways, though Rosie and other secondary cast members like Spacely's arch competitor, Mr. Cogswell, of Cogswell's Comic Cogs Company, rounded out the amusing show with a great premise. The original series only lasted one season. Most TV experts speculate the cancellation was due, in large part, to it being produced and broadcast in color. Oh, so because it was colored, it was bad. Oh, yeah. Those colored cartoons. You should get you canceled today. In 1962, less than 3% of U.S. households owned a color television. I'm going to say that again. In 1962, less than 3% of U.S. households owned a color television. Even then, only those viewers in Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles could see the show in color, as these were served by ABC-owned and operated stations. Consequently, the Jetsons' bright and shiny future appeared dull and engaging, and in black and white to most of the viewing population. Following the cancellation on ABC, the program would spend the next 2 decades on Saturday mornings, with subsequent runs in CBS from 1964 1965, then from 1967 to 1971, and NBC from 1965 to 1967, 1971 to 1976, 1979 to 1981, and 1982 to 1983. From 1985 to 1987, new episodes of The Jetsons were produced for syndication. In 1990, Jetsons the Movie debuted, serving as the series finale to the television show. For those who experienced this era of Saturday morning cartoons, The Jetsons is undeniably affixed to their memories. Danny Gladen, author of The Jetsons, the official guide to the cartoon classic, aptly sums up the show's enduring popularity. It coincided with the period of American history when there was a renewed hope, beginning of the 60s, sort of pre-Vietnam, when Kennedy was in power, going to the moon, all of that jazz. So there was something very attractive about the nuclear family with a good, honest values thriving into the future. I think that chimed with the zeitgeist of American culture at the time. Who knew the future could be so out of this world funny, or so much fun, and so much wrong? Download the Live 365 app. Search WDCE so you can listen to the Jetsons theme here on the radio. Follow me at Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Facebook, Sam Newsman on YouTube, Sam Newsman on Twitter, and Sam Newsman on TikTok, where I'm currently banned and I can't go live. Broadcasting live here from the WDCE studios out of the University of Richmond, you're listening to 90.1 FM. You're on the only radio show dedicated to the magic and nostalgia of Saturday morning, hosted by me, a real puppet. From the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday Morning.